Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to the INB show with your host, Slam Stapleton. I am your host, Slam Stapleton. Today, we're going to be discussing something that's sort of related to me, something that's extremely late. As you can probably tell from the screen recording that I'm doing right now, it's over a few months ago, where it was done in February, and we're now in September. But, yeah, and it's a thing from the Hill, something that I've been kind of putting off on talking about because I think some notions are true, while some others aren't really taking into account some other factors here. Apparently, most young men are single, most young women are not. And yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on your point of view from a certain, like, what's the cutoff here? What is a young man? What is a young woman? You know, what's the difference here? So, apparently, more than 60% of young men are single, nearly twice the rate of unattached young women, signaling a larger breakdown in the social, romantic, and sexual life of the American male. Men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. They stand at a vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and relationships that affect all of young America. Now, I get where they're coming from. I've been kind of at the forefront of this as well. Like, before I met my girlfriend that I'm currently dating right now, I've had a very hard time getting women to date me. I mean, went on a few like first dates, and then they just said, okay, whatever after that. But in my opinion, that's not what the young youth is really wanting to do these days. They're not really wanting to settle down, they're kind of wanting to do their own thing, but I don't know. Let's continue reading here. We're in a crisis of connection, says Niobe Way, a psychology professor and founder of the Project for the Advancement of Our Common Humanity at New York University. Disconnection from ourselves and disconnection from each other, and it's getting worse. And I'll give you $100 if it's not gonna focus on gaming or the internet or whatever. So here we go. In the worst case scenario, the young American man's social disconnect can have tragic consequences. Young men commit suicide at 4 times the rate of young women. Younger men are largely responsible for the rising rates of mass shootings. Okay. And societal changes have began in the Eisenhower years, have eroded the patriarchy that once ruled the American home, classroom, and workplace. Women now collect nearly 60% of bachelor's degrees. Men still earn more, but among the youngest adults, the income gap has narrowed to $43 a week. This is reading kind of interesting, to say the least. I mean, it's a blog post, so it's not, so I don't know, but there's some good things in here, like the data, whatever you want to call it. As of 2022, Pew Research Center found 30% of U.S. adults are neither married, living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. And apparently, the share of sexuality active Americans stands at a 30-year low. Around 30% of young men reported in 2019 they had no sex in the past year, compared to about 20% of younger women. So, here's the thing. I don't think they're taking this into account, and let's see if we can just continue reading here. I don't think they're kind of acknowledging the issues regarding that. Like, for instance, maybe some guys and some women don't want to, I mean, you have... Fred said that you have to think that the pandemic had an impact on some of those numbers. Young men are watching a lot of social media. Yes, there it is. Social media, internet connection. Yep, I knew it was going to happen. They're watching a lot of porn, and I think they're getting a lot of their needs met without having to go out. And I think that's starting to be a habit. Okay. So, I mean, that's their opinion, you know? That's their prerogative. They can do whatever they want, you know? So, I don't think this article is taking into account all the men and all the women that want to be single, and maybe sometimes they're not really wanting to date right now because they're having to do a lot of work, because the gap of income to getting a house is far larger than back in the 1950s or whatever, when the Eisenhower era, right? So it's taken a lot of work to even get a house. So you don't have to necessarily rent a house or rent a apartment or whatever, right? And it's taken a long... I mean, maybe they don't necessarily want to, date someone because they won't have the time, I don't... And apparently, the only thing it's saying is, like, why women won't date the younger guys and all that. And maybe the younger guys don't want to date the younger girls. Maybe that's fine, What if they don't want to? Heterosexual women are getting more choosy, okay? They're having their own minds, whatever. But, I don't know. This whole thing is kind of interesting, to say the least. I'm not very, all that, hard-hitting with this type of thing, because maybe some guys want to. Some guys want a relationship, but sometimes, they want to do other things. Like, for instance, is saying right here, guys are taught to prioritize career. Also, romantic relationships, although it doesn't seem like they're doing a very good job of that, making friends and keeping friends seem to have a lower priority. And once guys get older, they suddenly realize they have no friends. Yeah, because they're working. They have to work. It's kind of double-edged sword here. And I'm talking about my own personal experience, because I am a younger guy. I don't know, a whole lot of other guys' interactions and all that. I do have guy friends, unlike what this article is saying here. I do have friends outside of skits, outside of my girlfriend and all that, but I don't know. I don't know their personal, struggle and all that, I see it sometimes, but I don't really, can't tell from their own personal perspective on everything, so... But yeah, I mean, I know guys that are just wanting to work. Guys that want a girlfriend, but, they're focusing on their careers right now, and they don't have to, If you want to just have a relationship with porn or whatever, I mean, it's your prerogative, you do you, but I mean, not necessarily I'm not telling you to do that. In fact, I'm kind of straying away from that because it gets very addictive very fast. But, I mean, what? Yes, it is a growing issue, but I think this article is blowing it a little bit out of proportion here. But what do you guys think? And this is a newer type of thing that I'm kind of doing right now, where I'm just kind of going over an article and explaining it and all that type of thing. But what do you guys think? Is this a growing issue in our modern society? I don't think so, but why don't you guys let me know in the comments below. Comment, subscribe, ring that bell. More vids coming your way, and hey, take care, guys.